What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the battle for Week 2 of Best Never Rest, and we are up against Jake and his Virginia Tech Froakies. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button as it helps us out a lot, and let's do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, on to the team. Like I said, we are up against Jake, and not sure if I said this last week, but this week is actually what I think is our worst matchup in the entire BNR. Like, I think that last week, while it was a difficult matchup, we still had some stuff, and so I should not have said last week, if I did, that it was the worst matchup, because it wasn't. It was just like he happened to have what I thought was a decent matchup, but that also could be that could also be like a sequelae of the fact that I am not used to really building with Trick Room, so I inherently look at a matchup and think that, okay, well, I mean, he outspeeds a lot of my stuff. Well, that's not what Trick Room does. Trick Room takes hits and then turns the tables on them with the aforementioned Trick Room in order to outspeed them. But in this case, like, he just has so many options and so many answers for literally everything on my team that I genuinely do feel like, even without, like, if you do not factor my experience in, well, lack of experience with Trick Room building in this game, then I still think he has an amazing matchup, just because not only do his top tiers have a really good matchup against my stuff, but even his lower tier stuff like Blaziken, Alolan Muck, Florges, like, heck, even Marshtomp could realistically be brought against my team just because of what I have. So yeah, this is going to be a very, very tricky matchup. And when I, like, the first iteration of the team, I actually more or less scrapped all but one set, all but two sets actually, from the initial build that I had of this team. Just completely scrapped it because it just, I don't know, it didn't have enough answers for his stuff, and it could not put up enough pressure. But this team build that I do have now, I do think gives me the best opportunity to win in this unfortunately pretty tricky matchup. But I still feel really good about this team because it's just different enough in certain ways to where I think it might be able to throw him for a loop and catch him off guard. So the first mon we are starting with is a defensive Mega Mawile with Play Rough, Knockoff, Sucker Punch, and Stealth Rock. Now, Mega Mawile obviously has a wonderful matchup. I mean, I know I said that a lot of his stuff has a really good matchup against me. Well, that's if Trick Room isn't up. So if Trick Room is up, Mawile decimates stuff. Like, Mawile just comes in and claims kills. So honestly, what I'm expecting him to bring, like, really the only thing that he has for Mega Mawile is going to be a Colbur Metagross, which, to be fair, is a very reasonable bring and a very easy bring. Like, a defensive Colbur Metagross can take on Mega Mawile if that's all that it is designed to do. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. And with a Colbur Berry, at a relatively, like, even just a somewhat bulky even just a somewhat bulky Metagross is able to take on Mega Mawile pretty well. So with Mega Mawile being slow to where it completely relied on Trick Room, but also having good enough, like, just spamming Play Rough against his team does well enough, that I decided that it was better to go more defensive against his team, to have Mega Mawile be sort of a check to things like Alolan Muck, Mega Pinsir, even Metagross and Garchomp to lesser extents, just because I can, from full, take a hit from any one of those guys and retaliate with an attack. Now, I can't necessarily knock them out in one hit, but I can just have Mega Mawile be a little bit more bulky. Because we are not required to Mega Turn 1, I will be able to keep Intimidate for later in the game if I need it, and because of huge power, Mega Mawile is still able to get up to, I believe that is 492 attack, which, yeah, it's not quite the 600 that it can normally get up to, but with this, I mean, still, 492 is very, very strong, and a neutral Play Rough against anything on his team is going to do a sizable chunk. And then Stealth Rock, I'm thinking that he's going to be bringing Alolan Muck against me, and so Mawile is just a very good switch-in because, first of all, I'm defensive, so I'll be able to take the hits. I am immune to Poison Jab, Knockoff is going to be doing little to nothing, and it does, in a sense, force Alolan Muck out, to where I do have the opportunity to get up Stealth Rock early game, and then also pressure him later in the game once the rocks are up. The defense is enough to live in Intimidated Tectonic Rage from Garchomp after rocks, so that just kind of shows you how bulky Mawile or Mega Mawile can be. I mean, to be fair, if it's neutral, then I'm just blown away. Like, Mega Mawile is just real dead, real hard, but even a -1 living a Tectonic Rage is still pretty solid. I do knock myself out with Rough Skin after, but hopefully I'll be in a good enough position where the trade is beneficial. Next up, we have a Victini with the ability to... Wait, I just want to make sure that I am... Yeah, I am relaxed. Okay, good. Next up, I have a Trick Room Victini. This is a mixed Trick Room as opposed to the set that I brought last week. I mean, this one is more focused on being able to Psychic and Energy Ball spam, like, just have those moves for the right things on his team, like just have those coverage, and then V-Create is still going to hit insanely hard off of even just 238 attack. I mean, it's still freaking V-Create, and it's going to take out what it needs to take out. I just decided that Special in this instance was better than Physical, because Psychic was able to take out things like Blaziken and sufficiently damage Garchomp to put it in range of like Alolan Persian and Serena, whereas Psychic was, or Energy Ball rather, was better for things like Greninja and Rotom Wash that are also super annoying for this team to deal with. I mean, Victini very much has four move slot syndrome in this game, but I don't know. I feel like this is the best combination given what I have on the rest of my team. I opted for Aya Papa Berry over anything else because, I mean, if you look at his team, he has priority out the butt. I mean, he has Water Shuriken, super effective against Victini. He has Bullet Punch, not super effective. Muck with Shadow Sneak, super effective against Victini. Mega Pinsir, basically super effective because that hits so freaking hard. So, I mean, he has plenty of priority. Oh yeah, even Decidueye, super effective against Victini. So, yeah, Victini is not going to be sweeping. Victini is going to be breaking, and odds are the thing that he's going to use to rely on checking Victini under Trick Room without getting Garchomp damaged is going to be those repeated weak hit priority moves that will chip me eventually into range of being knocked out. So I'm trying to take advantage of that, go with the Aya Papa Berry, so that if like he Water Shurikens me with Greninja with his plan to Water Shuriken me down into Quick Attack, or even just I'm at 30% and he plans to Water Shuriken me to death, well, suddenly Aya Papa Berry comes in, I get an extra kill. I'm thinking that it might just come through clutch enough to where Victini will be very solid for me in this matchup. The speed, once again, just like last week, I believe, is to speed creep something, speed creeping Adamant Mawile. Mainly Metagross is what I'm looking at, just be able to outspeed that outside of Trick Room, but then be able to Trick Room and V-Create. Yeah, just go from there. Next up is going to be a special attacking Porygon 2, and I initially wanted this thing to be defensive for Garchomp. Like, defensive for Garchomp and Greninja, just to be able to take those hits as well as possible in Mega Pinsir, but it turns out Porygon, not Porygon Z, Porygon 2, I'm probably going to say Porygon Z plenty just because I'm used to that mon, but Porygon 2 exerts quite a bit of offensive pressure against him, just with the combination of Tri-Attack and Shadow Ball. Like, a quiet Porygon 2 with rocks, if I get the download boost, is able to OHKO Greninja and Blaziken. Like, that's insane. And then still able to pick off things like Garchomp, Mega Pinsir, Rotom, like all of those that might give me the special attack boost. Now, then again, I'm anticipating him doing everything he can to not give me the special attack boost. But if I get it, Porygon 2 becomes a massive, massive bulky threat. And then Shadow Ball is good for, like, Decidueye and Metagross, the only things on his team that resist Tri-Attack, so I should be able to take those on fairly well. The EVs, just fairly straightforward, just a special, or not yeah, special attacking, I thought I was about to say specially defensive, but a specially attacking Porygon 2 with max HP and then 0 speed for Trick Room. Next up is going to be an Alolan Persian with Z Parting Shot, Knockoff Taunt, and Foul Play, and the first Z move I'm bringing this season is going to be Z Parting Shot, which I kind of anticipated. Now, with the team that I'm bringing, Mega Mawile and Porygon 2 are going to be very important for this team, like that they stay healthy or that they take out what they're supposed to take out, even if they have to sustain a big hit to do so. What Alolan Persian does is allows me to use them for that specific situation, and then bring them all the way back up to full health, to where now my opponent is much less able to deal with the rest of my mons, or deal with that specific mon, just because they used up their counter to, like, say they used Metagross to chip down my Mega Mawile as I took it out. Well, now, if I'm able to bring Mega Mawile back up to full, he has 0 play rough switch-ins, or similar idea goes for Porygon too, just basically Alolan Persian, first of all being heavily defensive, and its speed tier is great for things like Garchomp and Mega Pinsir, but also Knockoff and Parting Shot give me great momentum and the ability to bring something back and use them to just like break through him, while at the same time knowing that I do have the ability to bring them back if I need it. The speed is enough to outspeed Mega Pinsir, creeping Maimon, creeping Victini. Same thing with like Garchomp, just it was kind of an aggressive creep. I don't think he will go like full on try to outspeed a lot of stuff, just because the only thing that I have, well, I don't have anything between Persian and Victini, so we'll try to outspeed the Victini. I just wanted to maximize my physical bulk while still hitting the speed that I thought he would end up running against me. Now here we have a specially defensive Swampert, and you knew it was only a matter of time before I ended up bringing Swampert, and this is actually a fully physically, or specially attacking Swampert rather, just because this is going to be what I need to take the Will-O-Wisps from Rotom in order to try to wear it down. Now this Swampert is designed to take, I would say take hits from Greninja lightly, just because it still doesn't like taking a Life Orb Hydro. Just kind of delay Greninja and put it in a place where it can be knocked out from like Porygon to like Mawile. Just basically delay Greninja giving me such a hard time to where I can put myself in a better position to deal with it later in the game. Similarly for Garchomp, this is just kind of a coverall. You're not going to do a lot against me. Swampert is going to be able to chip you down, and particularly the Rotom, where Rotom can't just get free momentum off my Swampert. I can Toxic that thing, and yeah, he can burn me or Toxic me back, but if I can take out his Rotom in exchange for my Swampert, that is a beneficial trade for me, because it puts things like Mawile, Victini, Porygon 2 in a much better position. As for the defenses, I have enough defense to live 2 Garchomp Earthquakes just straight up after rocks, and then the rest into Spidef to better deal with Greninja. And finally, we have a Choice Scarfed Serena, and this might seem, I don't know, it might seem like kind of weird just running a Choice Scarf Serena in general. Well, actually, no, it's not. I don't know why I said it was weird, but when I first looked at this team, I was like, yeah, Serena's got a decent matchup, but I don't know. I really didn't like what it necessarily brought in the first iteration, but the more I looked at the matchup, the more I realized Serena is actually really great overall. Just because, I mean, it has the moves that it needs to. Yeah, it does have 4 move slot syndrome. I'd really like to have knockoff in there somewhere, but the moves that I have on it are the moves that I decided to run with, just because, I mean, that's what I feel is the best move. What are the best moves for the matchup? Rapid Spin is there over Knockoff, just in case he tries to Spike Stack me. That could be a big issue. So Serena is just a nice way to try to get rid of those. Queenly Majesty means that his priority is not going to hit me at all. I really wish Serena got like Rock Tomb or Rock Slide, but it doesn't, so my best move to hit Mega Pinsir, even though he can't hit me with Quick Attack, is going to be Zen Headbutt, which sucks, but I do have other ways of dealing with Mega Pinsir, so I'm less worried about that. But just basically, Serena is a way to bring it in on Greninja. Greninja is forced to switch out, and I will get momentum off of that with U-turn. So just basically something that can scare Greninja out. The speed is enough to creep Greninja, creeping Alolan Persian. Then I just threw the rest into attack and maximized my EVs in HP and defense. So yeah, that is the team, and let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that he did not bring the Alolan Muck, which is just kind of like a, well, wish I had brought Latios at this point, but either way, I mean, he brought about what I expected him to bring, I mean, including the Blaziken, just because that thing has such a good matchup against my team, but yeah, it's just a whole lot of threats, really gonna have to play around them, and play around them well if I want a chance to win this game. But anyway, so leading off, I actually am just going to lead off straight with my Serena, as Greninja or Rotom is a very likely lead on his end, as those two have beneficial matchups against anything on my team, and even if I do have the initial advantage of leading with Serena, as he leads with Greninja and Rotom, he has plenty of switch-ins, so I am just going to lead off with Serena, expecting him to do that, and luckily, he does lead off with his Greninja, which is very, very beneficial for me, as I will be able to fire off a U-turn and not quite knock out the Greninja if he stays in, or get switch momentum as he goes into his Pinsir, and I get the U-turn off. That does a sizable chunk, tells me that Pinsir is offensive, which is kind of a foregone conclusion. But at this point, I'm going to go straight into my Mega Mawile. Well, it's not Mega yet. go into my Mawile. Maybe he forgot to put Hyper Cutter on there, but then again, we saw that he didn't have Mold Breaker, so yeah, he's got Hyper Cutter, and I'm just going to go straight for the rocks, as if he wants to stay in and go for an Earthquake and risk me taking out his Mega Pinsir really, really early, then cool, we take those, and I can always Parting Shot my Mega Mawile back up later, and if he stays in, I still have the Persian. That is a great switch in as well. So I am not going to Mega yet, as I do want to save my Intimidate for later, and just go straight into Rocks, as I figured he would go into his Metagross, and much like I said in the team preview, in the team builder, there we go, that's what it was. I'm expecting this Metagross to be Cobra Berry, or a defensive Metagross at least that's able to take on the Mega Mawile. And the fact that it was very early on, he just went straight into that Metagross like I expected, and I'm able to get my rocks up. But now, I don't want Mega Mawile to take a hit just yet. I want to save that for even potentially intimidating the Garchomp, as I'm going to go into my Persian, as he does get me there, goes for the rocks. So that's a good play, and I'm just going to go straight for the knockoff, as the sooner I can get rid of Metagross's Cobra Berry, the sooner Mawile can put in a crap load of work against his team. He makes a good play, goes into Greninja, and I was kind of like, oh crap, he has a Z move. But instead, this Greninja has Life Orb that I knocked off, so I was just like, oh, that is fantastic, because there's a significant difference in the calcs when Greninja has a Life Orb versus not having a Life Orb. So that is amazing for me, but not wanting Persian to take a hit, I make a bit of a misplay and go straight into my Swampert, thinking that he's going to predict the fact that Serena will want to come in on the Greninja and just go straight for an Ice Beam. But given Greninja's coverage against my team, like, just Dark and Water is all he needs, and Serena really isn't that big of a threat against him, so he can easily just chip that thing down with Greninja, to where, I mean, just he has responses. He doesn't have to like really worry about Serena coming in for free, because he has plenty of switch-ins to it. So I should not have gone Swampert. I should have gone straight into Serena. He does take advantage of the fact that I do make that sort of scouting play and goes for the spikes, and now Swampert isn't even remotely threatening the Greninja, so I'm like, ah, crap, whatever. I'll just take this opportunity, go into my Serena now to try to spin to get rid of the Stealth Rocks and the spikes, but he goes into his Pinsir, and so I was like, oh, crap. Well, that's unfortunate. That means I don't get the free spin, but luckily with Queenly Majesty, I will be able to just U-turn out on this Pinsir. This Pinsir, if he Mega Evolves, which he does choose to do, is going to be dead to Rocks, so I'm just going to go straight into my Persian. I know I can take a return into Quick Attack after Rocks and Spikes, which I do end up doing, and yeah, I will be able to take out this Mega Pinsir. So I mean, that wasn't the biggest threat of his that I was able to get rid of, but it was still a threat that I no longer have to worry about. But unfortunately at this point, he does get a free switch into his Greninja. And so now, because Serena is kind of low, I'm just going to take this opportunity to go into my Swampert, or switch into Swampert, because I know I can take whatever hit Greninja wants to go for, Toxic the Greninja, and try to go from there. Unfortunately, he does miss the Hydro Pump, as I do end up missing a Toxic, so you might think it's a dead turn, but it's actually really more beneficial for me, as with him missing the Hydro and me missing the Toxic, I do not only net 6% from leftovers, I also waste a Hydro of his, so that is really, really nice for me. And in this turn, instead of Toxicking again, I'm just going to go for the Protect to try to make him use up another Hydro, to where eventually I can hopefully stall this thing out, or not hopefully, I have the ability to stall this thing out if I need it. So finally, we are going to trade a Hydro Pump for a Toxic, which is very nice. This Greninja is getting worn down nicely. It's already in range of U-turn, maybe even in range of Sucker Punch later in the game. But I go for the Toxic once again as he gets up another Spike, as I was kind of anticipating him to try to go Rotom to take advantage of my Swampert, but again, he gets me, so now I am forced to just go hard into Serena. I know I can take one hit of whatever this Greninja wants to go for, and I can Rapid Spin away, as one Spike is a whole lot better than two Spikes and Stealth Rock if that's what he chose to do as Rapid Spin. Then he would get up another Spike, and then he would die to Poison. But he does go into his Metagross. I know that he is more than likely going to go straight for the Rocks at this point, so instead of going into Persian, I'm going to take this chance, this free switch in to my Porygon 2, to try to get the special attack raise, which I know Metagross will give me, and set up the Trick Room, because look at his team, and look at his switch-ins to Tri Attack plus Shadow Ball from a +1 quiet Porygon 2. He has nothing. Metagross will be 2-hit KO'd easily by this Shadow Ball, and Porygon 2 is really just kind of starting to bust through his team. Unfortunately at this point, Serena will, when it comes in on Rocks, it will not be able to Rapid Spin, because all Jake has to do is go into his Garchomp, and he will be able to take the hit, Rough Skin to knock me out, and I won't even be able to get rid of the rocks. So unfortunately, I did have to choose between Porygon 2 or getting a better setup with Porygon 2 or trying to save Persian, but ultimately I just decided that the extra turn was better, and having sack fodder in Persian later in the game could be very handy. He is going to go into his Greninja as I have my Porygon 2, I have a couple more turns of Trick Room, and I'm at +1. He's going to be going down to not poison this turn, but poison next turn, so unfortunately I can't just make a switch into like Serena and have him die to poison. I do have to make the decision about what I want to do. Now from this range, even if Greninja's in Torrent, because I knocked off his Life Orb, even 5 hits, I believe, will not be able to knock out my Porygon 2 from this range. I mean, Porygon 2 is stupidly fat, so I have the decision to make. Do I want to recover up and then knock the Greninja out, or do I just want to trade my Porygon 2 for the Greninja? Like, he will hit me with Water Shuriken, I will knock him out with Tri-Attack, and then we will both go down for a double down and just try to play the game from there. I decided the extra turn that I would get from Trick Room by staying in with Porygon 2 and knocking out the Greninja was worth it, and just in case he wanted to go for like a Hydro Pump or a Dark Pulse trying to predict the fact that I would go for Recover, I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to be able to bring my Porygon 2 up with Persian anymore. I kind of just have to go all in on the Victini and Mega Mawile endgame. So I am just going to stay in, take the Water Shuriken. He ends up hitting, I believe, he hits only 3 times, but he crits one of them, and so I was just like, oh boy. But luckily, I don't go down. I will be able to take out his Greninja, and it looked like 5 hits would have been able to take it out, so I forgot to factor in Torrent when I was talking just then. But now, with this turn, last turn of Trick Room, I'm going to go into my Swampert, as it has a beneficial matchup against Garchomp, Blaziken, and Rotom to a lesser extent. Now, I do have to be very, very careful at this point, because Garchomp can very easily clean up the game with Earthquake, because my Persian's dead, Serena is basically dead, and if he's Scarf, then he outspeeds me. Swampert's the only thing that can take 1 hit, well, apart from Mega Mawile. So the reason that I didn't Mega Evolve earlier is actually really coming into play now, because I can live even a neutral, not a neutral, but like a -1 Tectonic range from Garchomp. So all I have to do is just switch my Mega Mawile in on Garchomp, Intimidate it, and I will be able to live a Tectonic Rage and knock him out. So that's why I save the Intimidate. Otherwise, I would not be able to do that, and even just like a neutral Scarf, Garchomp would be able to knock me out. So that's kind of what I'm playing for, just get Trick Room up with Victini on Blaziken or Rotom, and then try to win with the combination of Victini and Mega Mawile, because the end game is in sight. I just need to get Rotom a little bit worn down for Victini and Mawile. All I need is a little bit of chip damage on Garchomp so that Victini can win, and then all I need is a little bit of chip damage on Rotom so that Mawile can win. So I have 2 potential outs to win this game, and so Swampert, while it is something that can take 1 Earthquake from Garchomp, I decided that, you know what, I just need to try to wear down this Rotom, because he's not going to go Blaziken or Garchomp, and if he does, well, then happy birthday to me. I'll be able to Earth Power the Blaziken or Ice Beam the Garchomp, but he will more than likely go Rotom, which he did, and so this is one thing that's really standing in the way. I'm thinking that this is going to be a Pinchberry Rotom, as that just makes a lot of sense against me, but nonetheless, I'm still going to try to wear that down with Toxic. I can Protect to get some lefties back, I can stall out turns, whatever I really need to do. So now that the Rotom is in, I will be able to outspeed and go for a Toxic, which I luckily land, as he is just going to go for the Hydro Pump. And yeah, Swampert is now in range of his Garchomp. Rotom's getting chipped down a little bit, and I really, really wanted to pull the trigger and go for an Ice Beam, but I just could not. I could not risk the fact that he might try to stay in, go for a Toxic of his own, or something like that. Like, this is a turn that really, really pained me when it happened, because I didn't want to make the safe Protect play, because I knew he would exploit it in some way, because Jake is an excellent, excellent player. But unfortunately, that's exactly what happens, as he does pull the switch into Garchomp. I wish I had Ice Beamed, but I really just wanted that extra damage on Rotom, even though I was out of range of Hydro Pump. Like, that play hurt, just in case he managed to get like a min roll with Hydro, and then it was kind of a min-max situation right there where he might have been able to knock me out with a second one. Just like that turn still hurts to watch just because I knew that he was going to take advantage of me going for Protect, but I just did not have the balls to pull the trigger on it. So he does get Garchomp in against my Swampert, and I was kind of thinking that I can just go for an Ice Beam or I can go for a Protect just to scout out what this Chomp was. But if he was a Garchomp, if he was a Swords Dance Garchomp and Swords Dance right there on my Protect, well, it didn't matter if Mawile had Intimidate or not. I basically just lost the game at that point. So I had to go straight for the Ice Beam, as he does get the play right and knocks me out with Earthquake. But what this does afford me is the ability to go into my Mawile and intimidate this Garchomp. Now here is a gigantic turn. So like I said, in order for Victini to win the game, I need to chip Garchomp into range of Psychic. And to get Garchomp in range of Psychic and offensive Garchomp, all I need is to get around 50% already on it. Then Psychic will be able to knock it out because Victini will be able to set up a Trick Room on both Rotom and Blaziken, and then Victini will be able to win the game. At this range, there is no attack that he can go for without a crit that will be able to knock me out unless it's, I believe, I think a Z Tectonic Rage has the ability to knock out regular Mawile. Like Mega Mawile, it does not knock out. Well, it has to get an absolute max roll in order to knock out. So I'm kind of in a situation. If he lets Garchomp go down, like if I Mega Evolve and he lets Garchomp go down, I win the game. Like just straight up, I win the game because he has nothing that can really beat the combination of Victini plus Serena, and additionally Mawile will be able to get Sucker Punch damage on whatever he decides to go into. So if he lets Garchomp go down here, I will win the game. However, if he does switch out Garchomp and I Mega Evolve, well, suddenly I lose the Intimidate. I lose the ability to come in on Garchomp and take the Earthquake because of his -1. So instead of Mega Evolving, I'm going to risk the fact that he could stay in and go for a Z Tectonic Rage. And I'm just going to regular Play Rough, because if Garchomp stays in, boom, that is the chip that I need for Victini to be able to win the game. Then if he knocks me out, I just go straight into Serena and Power Whip, as I will knock myself out, but he has to switch something else in. So basically just like, I needed a situation. I don't know, I just kind of made the call. I felt like he would not stay in with Garchomp at this point. I just went for the Play Rough, as if he decided to stay in and I got the damage off, then okay, Victini wins. If he Z Tectonic Rages, I lose. And if he goes Rotom, then I still am in a great spot to be able to win the game. So I'm going to not Mega Evolve, save the Intimidate, as he does pull the switch into Rotom, and I was just like, oh yes, this is absolutely fantastic, because that's not going to do a whole lot. Like, it only does 27, but Rotom is getting chipped lower and lower. I can just take this opportunity to go into my Persian, sack it off to Rocks, as Victini is going to be able to come in now and set up Trick Room, as unfortunately Play Rough did 1% enough to knock him into Iapapa range, but I mean, I guess with Trick Room he would have been into that range anyway. So I'm going to go into my Victini, chew up the Hydro Pump, and then just be able to set up the Trick Room, as he does exactly 63%, so it might be a roll as to whether or not the Rotom will be able to knock out my Victini. But I think at this range, I'm thinking that the Rotom is going to be Fizz-Def, not Spidef at this point, just because I haven't really had any... I didn't really calc the damage with Mawile, because I was like, whatever, Mawile's weak, probably just a Fizz-Def, but unfortunately, what I didn't calc was that damage was Spidef. I mean, it wouldn't have changed my plays either way, just because this was the end game that I was going for and I had to make these plays. But now I have the opportunity to knock out the Rotom with Energy Ball, and he lives. And as you will see, he will be able to knock me out with a Hydro Pump, and then Rotom will go down at this point as well. So now we're left with Trick Room, but Mawile versus Garchomp and Blaziken. So this is... yeah, I thought I had lost at this point. Like, I really thought that I lost the game, because, like, I thought, because I'm Fizz-Def Mawile, Blaziken could be able to take a hit and then knock me out. And I was really, really relying on the fact that maybe Victini could live that hit, knock out the Rotom. He would have to go into... I mean, if he went into Blaziken, I knocked it out with Psychic. If he went into Garchomp, I'd be able to hit that thing with Psychic, go into Mawile, Play Rough, knock that thing out, and then use the combination of Sucker Punch plus Zen Headbutt from my Serena to knock out the Blaziken. But because he was Spadef and he lived, I really thought I had lost, because the calc was showing me that Mawile only did about 50% to Blaziken, and I was like, ah, crap. Well, I mean, good game, dude. I lost. I'm just going to go into my Mawile, because hoping that maybe he'll choke and go into Garchomp, to where if I can knock that thing out, and then Mawile can get Sucker Punch damage off, then Serena can knock out Blaziken. But unfortunately, he does make a good play, goes into Blaziken. I do intimidate that thing, and I was just thinking, okay, GG, it is all over. However, I missed one very, very crucial thing when I was calcing. When I imported my Mega Mawile set, because I wanted to make sure that it had Intimidate, like the way you build on Showdown, like you put in Mega Mawile and then you put the ability that you want it to have before it Mega Evolves. Well, when I imported it into the calc, it kept that ability and did not factor in Huge Power. So I actually have the game won right here if I hit all my play roughs. I just did not realize it at the time because I read the calc wrong, and I was like, wow, defensive Mega Mawile is super, like, it's so weak, it doesn't hit a whole lot. But turns out Blaziken dies after rocks to Huge Power, even though I am uninvested. So I'm going to go for the play rough right here, and I miss. And when I saw that happen, I mean, at the time I thought I had lost again, so I was just like, yeah, whatever, I missed play rough, it's not that big of a deal. It only would have done like 50% to the Blaziken at most. And he goes for Flare Blitz, and I'm expecting to die, but it turns out the fact that I had not Mega Evolved yet means that I kept my Intimidate, means I intimidated the Blaziken, and I lived the Flare Blitz with enough HP to live Rough Skin as well from Garchomp, to where I was just like, huh, well, if I had hit that play rough, I would have won, because as you can see, Blaziken's at 67% after that, and so I was like, well, 57 after Life Orb, whatever, it's fine, it happens. But then play rough kills, and I was just like, wait, hold on. I looked at the calc and saw that it had Intimidate instead of Huge Power. I changed that, and I was just like, huh, neat. But it was just one of those things where I thought I had lost, even though I was in a position, like, even though I had the checkmate position to win the game with Mega Mawile, and the fact that I did not Mega Evolve at any point earlier in the game allowed me to win, even though I missed that play rough. So, I mean, okay, so I didn't think that I had the game won, but yeah, I do, like, attribute the fact that I won to, well, I do attribute my winning to the fact that I did not Mega Evolve earlier, and I did keep that Intimidate, which, even though I missed play rough, allowed me to win the game. So, yeah, that was a heck of a game. Like, Jake and I always have epic games, and by always, I mean this is the second time we've played, and again, it's just an awesome, awesome game. I think it was 1-0 when we played in CPC semis, but man, that was a fantastic game. Intimidate Mega Mawile coming through, like, even if I had the Intimidate, but I wasn't defensive, I wouldn't have lived that Flare Blitz. So just all the prep with Mawile, like Serena came through clutch with a spin, offensive Porygon 2. I mean, it was just one of those, like, I thought the matchup was about as bad as it could get, but luckily every Mon on the team came through, except for Persian. Persian, I guess, yeah, Persian took out Mega Pinsir. So yeah, every Mon on the team came through. That was a very, very good game, Jake. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.